their efforts in communities of color. Racism has a huge economic impact, and we can make a difference.
I don't know how we did it.
The community bank industry is,
but we did it, guys. We have infiltrated their Zoom. We are in here. I'm having hardware issues between the two different devices, like OBS and Zoom at the same time. They're trying to use the same hardware, but we're in there. I don't know if there's anywhere else. If anybody finds the link, if there's like a link to this being streamed anywhere else, please send it to me and make it way easier. I have to like literally pull the Zoom over the charts for this to work. But we did it. We infiltrated them, and we're in on the Zoom. We might be able to ask questions. I don't know why we were allowed to do this. We could raise our hand at some point. Maybe we could ask a question. We'll find out. We'll find out as we move forward. This is going to be an interesting one. I have no idea how this is going to go down. I have no idea. We're going to just figure this out together. So thanks for joining, guys. Smash the like buttons and subscribe. We're going to get into this. We're here. We're under their radar. They don't even know. Apparently, all you have to do is like give them an email, and that's how little interest there are in these things. So let me give some background, hopefully without crashing everything on my computer. Can you guys let me know how the volume is, because it's way loud. I had to turn it down a ton to get it even like so I could listen to myself speak. Give me 1 second. Really, as soon as it worked, I went live. I was like, screw it, we'll go live. We're on their call. I don't know. What if we got to be live with Gina? What if I could ask a question and be like, can Gina speak? My volume's good. How's the volume of this going on in the background? How's that volume? That's what I'm curious about. 320 viewing, right on, guys. Welcome. We do have a little Chairman Powell sighting. I think that's going to be at 10:15. Today's a big day. This is why I wanted to go live, not only because I missed you guys. Low? Yeah, it should be low. I wanted it to be low. I'm going to turn it up a little bit, then you let me know if that's better. Let me know if it needs to go up a little more. My volume should be good, but I want to have a good mix, good balance between the Zoom call and me. Here we go. Can't hear Zoom?
Welcome back to the St.
Low
Louis
is good.
event.
Yeah, they're not going to say
It's
anything
great to be
spicy.
here. It's
Like
great to be
better.
out. It's great to see you in person, and also welcome to our virtual audience as
Great,
well.
great to be here, Jim.
From the pandemic, that we and as many
can't
of us
actually
have,
hear
that
us.
We can have an interesting and engaging conference virtually, and so we are looking forward to that today. For our virtual audience, you will be fully integrated into this conference. We will hear your questions here in this room, and you will hear ours. So we're glad we're together. And it's great to see everybody here in St. Louis.
I'll add up the volume.
My name is Jim Fuchs. I've had the privilege of chairing the planning committee for this conference for all 10 years.
Jim
And
Fuchs.
I can say I greatly appreciate the partnership that the Federal Reserve has with the FDIC and the Conference of State Bank Supervisors.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you. If we get,
I didn't expect that. Thank you.
this will be so funny.
For our virtual audience, Meredith Covington is
That's
a colleague
us.
of mine. She is our virtual MC. So if you have a question, certainly please raise your hand. That is one of the.
Is Gina here?
One of the ways you can let us know.
Will
We
Gina
can
be
unmute
here?
You and you can ask a live question, or you could just type it in chat and she'll let me know. So
can type
she has
it
a
in
live link
chat.
to this room as well, and
We can
she's
type it in
very
chat.
very good at
What's it saying?
at interrupting and letting us know that that there are questions online. So.
Good morning.
As a
Happy
reminder,
News
this conference
Course
is being
called.
recorded, and we will post video from this year's conference as we have for every year's conference on communitybanking.org.
Be sure to like the
conference website,
questions you want.
and also on the conference website are most of the papers and presentations
guys.
that you'll see today.
I turned the volume a little
For a
bit.
decade, this conference, as I mentioned, is the result of the collective efforts of so many people. And while I'd like to recognize all of them, I would like to spotlight our research director, John Kandrak. John, if you'd please stand. Research is the backbone of this conference, and John and his team have worked for months to evaluate and review the research and develop the program that we're able to offer today. John, thank you.
John, go ahead, John. We have to come up with a great question, guys. We have to come up with like debate. We have to like blow their minds.
And I'd also
with a
like to
question.
recognize somebody who
We have
works behind the
hundreds of
scenes
people here. Let's make
to
it happen
manage
today.
every detail of this conference and keep our entire planning committee on track. Amy McDaniels.
Who knows? Well, we can ask that question. Hey guys, what did you research?
So we've come a long way since
This
the
is
first
so
conference
funny.
in 2013.
We're
and I would
in
like
their
to encourage
Zoom.
everyone to check
We can
out the
ask a
conference
question.
volume. It's available online for our virtual audience as well, but those of you here should have
Ooh,
received
we
it
can
upon
send it
check-in.
anonymously. That's no
This year's
good.
volume, like every year of the conference, we've had additional features, additional changes. We've done new things with this conference.
Yeah, I'm not going to
This
ask
is
yet.
an example of one of those. We interviewed really 3 thought leaders from community banking, from academic research, and from supervision and regulation to share their perspectives on the conference. One of them is here, Dr. Alan Berger,
God.
but also Dorothy Savarese from the Cape Cod 5, and Greg Gonzalez, the commissioner for the Tennessee Department of Financial Institutions, lent their perspectives on this conference and the importance of community bank research, community banking, and balanced supervision and regulation. So I would encourage you to check out that volume.
Figured it out.
Another feature that we are adding this year, and now for the past few years, we have acknowledged the collective thoughts of the planning committee on the paper that makes the most significant contribution to banking research. We normally named that paper about 6 weeks after the conference. We're going to do it in real time this year, so please stay tuned to the very end of the conference tomorrow, Thursday, the 29th at approximately 12.
Will do, Jim.
15,
Will do.
Central Time, 1:15 Eastern Time. We will make that announcement. A representative from the Conference of State Bank Supervisors
Like how they've had this
will
laid
do
out.
so. I will note that this year is particularly special as we are renaming the what we call affectionately the Best Paper Award
Ooh,
in honor of
very
former
exciting news.
CSBS,
Jim,
President
10
and
out of 10
CEO,
so far.
John Ryan, who passed away earlier this year.
10 out of 10, John. You're really killing it up there. No one even knows like what to
So
say.
to officially kick off the 2022 conference,
Here we go.
gives me great pleasure to introduce the President and CEO of the St. Louis Fed, Jim Bullard.
Jim Bullard. Actually, he is on the Federal Reserve. I didn't think he was speaking. It's supposed to be.
Thank you, Jim, and welcome.
This
to
is not
everybody.
Chair
Great to see
Powell.
you in person. I have a few prepared remarks here.
Chair Powell's
Good
in 10
morning and
minutes.
welcome to St. Louis
Oh,
for
thank
the
you.
2022 Community Banking Research Conference.
Should we raise our
I'm
hand?
pleased to welcome you back to our building after presenting the conference virtually
Shall we raise our
over
hand?
the last 2 years. The pandemic gave us an opportunity.
Gonna mute them really quick. For anyone tuning in, guys, this isn't being live streamed on the Fed site like it usually is. We had to actually infiltrate the Community Banking Research Conference 2022. And by that, I mean, I essentially gave them an email and they sent me a Zoom link. So we're in their Zoom. We are able to raise our hand. We are able to ask questions in the Q&A. This is kind of hilarious. I'm very entertained. Chair Powell speaks at 10:15. It's currently 10:06. This is James Bullard. We're going to get his audio right back on. I just wanted to say, guys, smash a like, share the stream. Let's get hype. Shout out to our sponsors. I have to say that. I have to disclose every stream. There we go.
Collect unique and innovative practices of successful community banks and to serve as a reference point for future research conferences. End quote. I think this conference has achieved that goal. In my remarks at the 2014 conference, I noted a significant increase in the number of paper submissions relative to the inaugural year and predicted continued expansion. While I'm reluctant to make predictions, as St. Louis native Yogi Berra once said, it's tough to make predictions, especially about the
Yogi
future.
Bear.
On this one, I was right. We've seen a steady increase in submissions each year of the conference. The conference grew in other ways
Historic words
as well.
of Yogi Bear.
The organizers
Picnic
added several other important
baskets.
features over the past decade, and to name a few, community bankers were added to each of the research panels to provide a practitioner's perspective on the research presented. I think that was a fantastic addition. An
Oh
emerging
God, this
scholars
guy is.
program
No one
was
cares. Let's do a little TA while this bummer goes on. Yeah, we don't need to listen to this. It is not interesting. Let's take a look at charts quick. I have this rigged up weird. Bitcoin obviously yesterday had quite a volatile day. We haven't been live in a while. That's another reason we decided to do this or wanted to go live today. Quite a volatile day, breaking its local highs of last week? Above 20,000 So we all got to briefly drink before getting sold back down to reality. Today we have a bottom wick and our candles back to where it opened. This has been really boring price action. I'm not going to lie to you guys. That's why we haven't had as many lives. Hopefully it spices up. Today's going to be a big day for Forex, for stocks, for honestly, for everything. With 4 members of the Fed speaking, Bullard, Bostard, Powell, I don't know, Boswick, is that one of them? I don't know. There's another one. And then there's also someone from the EU speaking. So all eyes are on what went down essentially in the last week with the crazy, I'm just going to call it financial crisis going on in the world. All eyes are affixed to it. And today we're going to hopefully get some answers. I'm not that hopeful because we never do. But at least we're going to be seeing some big names speak. Chairman, our man in arms, Chairman, only 6 minutes away while this guy drones on about something. Bitcoin moving mostly sideways. Something interesting. We did see BTC GBP, so the British sterling, that pair. Maybe I should even pull it up. We did see some really interesting stuff on the GBP. Let's pull this up. I haven't looked at this chart in a while. We did see something very interesting. I don't know if it will be reflected simply on Coinbase. No, it won't. But the total traded GBP volume exploded. It exploded. And I'll show you where. This is the GBP chart. As the GBP reached down towards parity, as we've seen the euro do, it did find support. It did bounce. It's not looking super strong right now. And I do believe the UK has declared they're firing back up the printers. So likely going to see more weakness on the GBP. We saw a record, I think it was 800 billion volume on BTC GBP. As the GBP dumped, we saw record trading volumes on BTC GBP, meaning that traders were active on this pair to the tune of about 11 times the average daily traded volume, showing some kind of interest or at least some kind of interaction with Bitcoin and Forex markets on their dump. That is something we have not really seen before. I kind of made a fun post about what happens when these currencies fall so much that Bitcoin in other pairs reaches back to all-time highs. That would be a really interesting scenario. Say the Dixie continues to dominate over the next few months, maybe into 2023. We see global currencies essentially crashing, right? That does set up a very unique scenario where Bitcoin could trade above its previous all-time high while it trades below its previous all-time high in dollars. What kind of global dynamic would that create? I honestly don't know. No one knows. We've never really seen this on a scale that matters. We definitely have seen it in other currencies. It looks like he's wrapping up, so I might turn it back on. Yeah, I'm going to turn it back on. We've never seen this on a scale that matters, but the GBP would be a scale that matters. The euro would be a scale that matters. Oh, here we go.
Welcome to the 10th Annual Community Banking Research Conference. I've attended this conference twice before, including the first one back in 2013, and I can attest to the quality of the research and the discussions. While I'm coming to you virtually today, many of you are gathering in person for the first time in 3 years, and I'm sure it will make an excellent event even more enjoyable. The Community Banking Research Conference brings together researchers, regulators, policymakers, and community bankers to discuss the unique and important role that community banks play in our economy. The conference was launched in the years following the financial crisis in a collaboration by the Federal Reserve, the Conference of State Bank Supervisors, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. The conference was developed to deepen our understanding of the community bank business model and to provide a forum to discuss research with academics, policymakers, regulators, and community bankers. The research presented over the years has informed supervisory and regulatory policy debates and continues to challenge our thinking. It has highlighted the vital links between community banks and small businesses, the availability of credit in low and moderate income communities, how community banks support their local communities in times of crisis, and the impact of technology. A critical feature of the research sessions is that community bankers join academic moderators to provide feedback from a practitioner's perspective. The challenges facing community banks have changed significantly over the past 10 years. Community banks have demonstrated remarkable resilience, and conferences like this have helped regulators and supervisors to better understand those changes. I want to congratulate the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis for a decade of hosting an important and informative conference. And I want to thank our colleagues at the Fed, the FDIC, and the Conference of State Bank Supervisors. On a sadder note, I also want to recognize the passing of John Ryan, who was president of the Conference of State Bank Supervisors for many years, who passed away this past May. John's impact on the CSBS and his contributions to the financial services sector overall were significant, and he is missed by all who knew and worked with him. Thanks also to the researchers and all the community banking professionals for their insight and contributions over the years. Thank you all, and have a great conference.
That was lame. That was lame. Give us more.
Thank you, President Bullard, and thanks to Chairman Powell for sharing their thoughts on this conference and also on the significance of what we call the balance of our audience, right? The bringing together researchers, policymakers, community bankers.
Oh, lame! It's always lame though. When is it not lame? That's why we do this.
And obviously, we have
what isn't lame is we are
representatives from those disciplines
in their
in
Zoom
this room, and
we're in their Zoom call
virtually.
I'm going to raise my hand, see what happens.
And I was noted a couple times.
I raised my hand.
Conference that is sponsored by three individuals, three entities: the FDIC, the Fed, and CSBS. And later this afternoon, we will hear from acting FDIC Chairman Martin Gruenberg.
Hands up. Could you call me?
This morning, we'll hear
Mr.
from
Tom Fight?
Federal Reserve Governor Mickey Bowman. But first, we have an opportunity to hear from the Conference of State Bank Supervisors. So please join me in welcoming Tom Fight. Tom is the CSBS Chairman, and he's also the Director of the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions.
Tom? Ooh, I just got another invite from them. Hold up. I had to sign up for this.
Well, first, let me say it was kind of fun watching that historical video, and there's some people in the room that were in that video, by the way. That
it's pretty fun, guys.
And I'm extremely glad I wasn't in the video from 2013 because you guys would be thinking, like, what happened to that guy? Like,
yeah, that is what we were thinking.
Age 25 years and 10. So thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me here today. And thank you, President Bullard and Chairman Powell, also for your remarks. Great to see so many of you here today in person. Happy to welcome you all to the 10th Annual Community Banking Research Conference. As the chair of the CSBS Board of Directors, I also want to thank our co-sponsors, the Federal Reserve System and the FDIC. And I want to give a very special thank you to the Federal Reserve Bank for hosting us here at this event for now 10 years. I'm so glad we're back finally in person in this auditorium after 3 years. It's been I would also think we would all say very strange 3 years. It brought a lot of uncertainty. It brought a lot of challenges, but I also have to say it brought a lot of ingenuity.
This is so ridiculous.
As the late CSBS and CEO and President John Ryan, we've heard a couple of times today mentioned, has said, the pandemic pushed us into the future and into using new technologies.
We are live in their Zoom.
I think that I, as a regulator, would have been shocked at
the 2022 Community Banking Research Conference. We have infiltrated them. Our hand is raised. We have raised our hand to ask a question.
Conference sounded to me more like something probably from the Jetsons, right? Remember back in the day, the TV screen talking back and forth?
The Jetsons.
We all do it
so
now,
far, they've referenced Yogi Bear and the Jetsons.
But during the pandemic, I think we all learned how to adapt. We learned how to advance and to better use our resources. Here, even today, we're in a virtual environment in this conference.
Very
Over the past 3 years, I think the importance of the community banking's relationship-centric lending has really shined. These banks worked with all their borrowers during tough times. They provided necessary flexibility and also the time needed for a business to reopen and to recover, saving many jobs all along the way. Of course, we all know that community banks also played a very sizable role.
Zoom does not like OBS running.
Facilitation of the payroll protection program as well. Over those same 3 years, the percentage of bankers who have said the adoption of new technology is extremely important has doubled in the CSBS National Survey of Community Banks. This really doesn't surprise me that much. Community banks have proven to be an incredible source of adjustment and invention. Consider even many, many years ago, back when I did have brown hair, by the way, ATMs and checking accounts.
That joke fell flat. Nobody
adapting, advancing, and better use of resources is important in today's world. I think about 10 years ago, I used my flip phone to make phone
flip
calls,
phone jokes. You got these guys are jokesters.
About 4 years from me,
they're
10,
making some jokes.
I'm a late adopter.
Yeah, he's an early adopter of this flip phone
on my phone, and I think we would all say right now that device that you have in your pocket is probably more a banking branch than it is a communication tool.
That
Most
was
services
accurate,
have to keep
actually.
up
That's
with the
pretty
technology and customer demands.
This guy's a
But at
price.
its
He's
core,
actually a
banking is still
comedian
all
in his
about
off
three
time.
things: taking deposits, lending money, and moving money. Community banks have an extra important dimension due to the relationships they have with their customers and their neighborhoods and the fulfillment of these three critically important financial services. I think we all know stories from back home, right? Banks that
That'd be
banks that all operate in our
Mike
states and
Tales.
what they do.
I think we
We've
should
heard many of
change
these
the
stories
title.
actually told right here at this conference in prior years. For me, this is my story. I remember a friend back home who owns a luxury boat dealership, boats that I can't afford, by the way, meaning more than a John boat with a 10
Dude, this guy needs to
horsepower
stop trying to be
trolling motor on it.
funny.
Indiana has about 80 lakes, so a boating business in northern Indiana is a pretty good business to be in. But during the last financial crisis, my friend's institution, which was a larger regional bank, decided just to get out of boat lending altogether. It cut off my friend's business completely, despite the fact that at that point in time, his business was actually booming. It created a pretty dire and immediate problem for his growing business. Or I should say it would have,
we
if
get
not for the
title
fact that a
changed.
community bank actually stepped in and understood the local demands, understood the business
Don't worry, I'm
itself,
looking.
understood what the business was doing for the local
I'm
impact
looking
on
to
the
see who else
economy.
is speaking.
And
guy
it's
sucks.
actually saved my friend's business. So that community bank didn't just secure my friend's line of credit, it also saved his company. Also, it meant people had jobs, right? And those jobs still exist today and are
I feel like he was
even
about to
larger
shill
now
his
and
friend's
more booming.
company. He's like, I'd get your
boat
lawn
dealership.
mowed by Stanley
Community banks
Lawnmower.
play an incredibly important role in their hometowns. With my job, I've literally driven through every small town in Indiana, probably 3 or 4 times, by the way, actually. I can see the difference in the towns that have a community bank and those that don't. Often one without a community bank is left with a gas station and one flashing light. We've all seen those towns, right?
Yeah,
And to me,
of
I think
course.
when a community
Very
bank leaves
relatable.
town, what really happens is that town loses its heartbeat.
All right, it's 10:20.
State,
Man, that
state
was
regulators, I think, with this quite a
Chair
bit.
Powell lets
The
us down a
key to
lot.
maintaining community banking options for future generations
but
is to
that was
craft
an
a
epic
successful
one.
model.
All right, looking at the upcoming events today, we have 9 minutes for crude oil inventories. This is going to be big. We've seen crude oil inventories in the U.S. dwindle down over the last 2 years. This is actually going to be big and could cause some volatility. That's 9 minutes from now. Let's see, what's the projected versus, what is it? It's projected forecast versus previous. Forecast 0.44, previous 1. Okay, this is actually huge. So the previous crude oil inventory for the U.S., 1.14 million barrels. Projected 0.44 million barrels. You guys can probably see why that is a big deal as we move into wintertime, as we move into colder temperatures. Actually, in the U.S., we've experienced not only Hurricane Ian, the most terrifying hurricane name ever, not making light of anyone who's been injured in the hurricane, but not a terrifying name. That is a reduction of over half. Now, that's the forecasted. We'll get those numbers in 8 minutes here. Lots of crude oil related. I'm going to turn him back on
with
quieter.
the CSBS community.
He's not
banking
interesting
study,
enough.
which has encouraged many to actually join institutions and become employees of banks, but also even a couple.
We have FOMC Bowman in 37 minutes and ECB's Elderson speaks. This is actually the one I'm interested in. If you guys have been paying attention, everything going on, the dollar, the Dixie, this is a weighted basket against other currencies. It's not that the dollar is gaining strength actually at all. In fact, the opposite. The dollar is losing strength to inflation, and that is why we're having all of these FOMC meetings, all of this monetary talk. Now, the reason that the ECB is going to be interesting is the euro is the largest weight in that basket. It represents 56% of the Dixie calculation. The EU, or the euro, has lost parity with the dollar, showing weakness, with the UK today announcing more printer go burr quantitative easing. It's gonna be spicy. I want to know what the European Union is looking at. I want to know if they're gonna be tightening rates. That could suggest a weaker Dixie. I want to know if they're gonna be loosening, maybe following along. It wouldn't surprise me to see the EU today come out and say, we're going to do some quantitative easing and following suit with the UK. Would not be mind-blowing. That could be actually very strengthening of the dollar, extremely strengthening of the dollar. And I'm getting alerts for crude. So we're going to pull up crude. As we just heard, crude inventories. That's right. 5 minutes from now or something like that, we're going to be getting our numbers. Let's pull up crude. What alert did I get? And it broke its what previous high here. Let's pull it up on the day. Boom. Not really crazy bullish yet. Though, in just like a really basic supply-demand way, we would typically expect if we're losing our supply, if we're losing our stock or reserve, right, we would expect the price to move up. That's going to add actually higher oil prices if we do see a breakout. Let's say we can move past $81 resistance here. If we do see a breakout today on these numbers, head towards 90, we could see, like, this is factored in with our CPI. I do believe energy costs are factored in with the inflation metrics. If we see a rising oil, that can add to rising inflation, which could add and could pressure Chair Powell to not be boring and get spicy on us. That is an interesting take. I'm going to set another alert here. We only have, I think, a few minutes now until these numbers come out. Probably seconds. Probably only seconds. They're doing something. What are they doing? I hate the way I have to do this.
April Meal, University of Wisconsin-Madison.
They're just cheering each other on.
And please forgive me here, Jose Ernesto Aldana Vizcayano, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
I like Jose. He has a long name, and that guy felt uncomfortable saying it. That's why I like him.
Congratulations to our 2022 Emerging Scholars. One of the great benefits of the Emerging Scholars Program is
Profit Bear. I wouldn't doubt it.
Candidates who are exploring a banking-related
Okay, no one cares about PhD candidates. God. We got more in this room than they have that room. Hands down. Yes, my name's Tom Crown. These are the best people on the planet. We think that you're you're obsolete. Your entire banking system. I have my hand raised still. They won't ever call on me. I should ask the question. Send anonymously. I'm going to send, is the banking system obsolete now that we have distributed ledger technology? Dare me to send it. This is legit. We're in their Zoom. They will get this. Someone will read this. Should we do it? Yes. Send. I liked my own question. Let's see if they get back to us.
Meredith Covington,
Ooh, Meredith Covington. Hello. Meredith is a cutie.
She's joined by Tom
I like Meredith. Maybe Meredith isn't married.
State bank supervisors. They're both joining us virtually to present the findings, and they will be.
How can I get rid of this other screen? There we go.
Development at CSBS.
Hey Meredith, what's up, gal?
Everybody
We should follow her on Twitter. I'm gonna follow her on Twitter. How do I find her? Meredith.
So Joey, if you would take over at the podium, and we'll
follow me on Twitter. By the way, smash the likes and subscribes. Get hype. We're gonna figure out something to do today. That was boring. 3 minutes for those numbers on oil crude.
Welcome everyone. We're excited
2
to share
minutes.
the 2022 results of our 9th annual National Survey of Community Banks. As Jim said, we're joined today by Tom Seams, the CSBS chief economist, and Meredith.
Have you guys noticed how many
Senior
people are
Manager
named
of
Tom?
Policy,
It's
Research,
it's
and
sus.
Analysis at the St. Louis Fed.
It's sus how
These
many
experts
Toms
gonna
there
help
are.
Disseminate this year's results. I do think this year's survey is particularly noteworthy due to the shift in questions from the last few years. While we had previously focused on the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect on local economies,
We asked a
the historic
question.
level of deposits and its impact on bank operations, this year we removed pandemic-related questions.
I don't know if you
as
guys can read
society
it.
is largely reopened. We focused instead on current banking conditions, emerging issues, including technology and
Oh, I spelled obsolete wrong.
service design and
Rip.
offerings, and the future of community banking.
Oh well.
To that point, it's great to be with you in person today and see so many familiar faces in the audience. Many of you
Everyone's
couldn't have
Tom.
pulled
It's a
off this year's survey without.
conspiracy. It's a
We ask that you hold questions till the
conspiracy.
end to let us get through
I
the
already
survey
asked a
results,
question.
highlights,
Shut
and
up,
full.
Tom.
And I'm going to get us started by sharing some key findings before I kick it over to our experts.
That would be me.
did
I have
just
my
want to
hand
note that
raised.
going, We received responses from about 500 banks in 40 states. So we do have tremendous geographic diversity in our results this year. So the overview of key findings, economics and
How you guys
economic
vibing
conditions
on
and
this?
margins were ranked by community
I think we
bankers
should do
as the
maybe
top
some.
external risks.
We should keep
While
looking
net
for
interest
more
margins
interesting
ranked
stuff.
first in importance among external risks, they were not considered more worrisome than a year ago.
Ooh, I can make it.
Cybersecurity ranked first in importance among internal risks,
Ooh,
as well as in current and future technological
he actually said
challenges.
something that is true.
Inflation was described as persistent but manageable. Community bankers expect relationship-based lending to expand more than transactional lending.
1 minute
The
till our
percentage
crude
of
numbers come
bankers
in.
who said adoption of new technology is extremely important has doubled in the past 3
Ooh,
years.
this is actually some
And
alpha.
although cryptocurrency services are offered by only 1% of surveyed
That's us.
banks,
Let's turn it up.
bankers are equally divided on whether these services are important or unimportant. And lastly, community bankers are worrying less
This might be good,
about
actually.
competitive risks than they did a year ago, but we'll dive deeper into that one shortly. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off to Meredith Covington to start doing the deeper dive into these results.
Cryptocurrency was on
Great.
their note
Thanks so
cards.
much, Joey, and good morning, everybody. Tom and I are happy to be back at the conference this year. And we're
Thanks,
eager to
Meredith.
share
Great
the
to be
survey
here
highlights
again with you.
all. So how it's going to work is
You
I'm
take
going to
it,
be going over
please.
some selected survey data with you, and then Tom is going to be explaining kind of the why behind the numbers. So the first
that's really putting me on the
notable
spot,
finding of the
Meredith.
survey relates to
you complete
banks'
bitch.
net interest margins. Next slide, please.
I was not prepared for this. I guess
So
I'm
this year,
speaking.
when bankers were asked about the importance of external risks, net interest margins rose to the top. Closely following and not surprising, bankers selected economic
Here we go. Crude
conditions,
numbers are in.
as the second most important risk. Net
Is that
interest
under
margins
forecast?
was the most important risk that was also identified last year, but economic
Whoa.
conditions had replaced loan demand from 2021.
Did we
So
just
even
get
though economic
minus
conditions were
inventory?
identified as a top risk, more than half of the bankers, as Joey had mentioned, saw inflation as being a challenge that, while it persisted, it was one that they felt that they could also weather. So I'm going to turn it to Tom now, who will explain a bit more as to why that is.
What?
Hey, great. Thanks. Next slide.
Is crude about to
So,
just go
Meredith
nuts?
provided
Does that
some
mean
play-by-play? I get to do some of the color analysis on this.
Tom,
And
shut
so
up.
Last year, when we presented net interest margins, was one of the
Crude
top
numbers just
concerns,
came in.
and this chart shows kind of why.
God, this is so
They've
confusing
been
to
drifting
operate it this way.
Lower, or I should say, the margins have been narrowing over, the
Where
past
did it
several
go?
years. But they,
If crude just came in negative, it's about to explode, which means CPI is going to explode with it. Did crude just come in negative? We got to tweet this.
Concern, I should say, is that we've had a little bit of an uptick here in the margins, and so they're still extremely narrow, but not as narrow as they were in the previous quarters. If you go to the next chart,
Let's do a really
that
hyperbolic one.
shows up,
Breaking.
the fact that we're getting a higher average yield on earning assets. So these charts look very similar to each other. They tend to track each other well. So next chart shows kind of why they're concerned about economic conditions and why inflation is such
Let's
a
do
concern
it this way.
for bankers right now. We're at historic levels of inflation, as the chart on the right shows, in terms of in most
Let's
bankers'
tweet.
careers. So in about a 40-year time period, the inflation rates haven't been this high, and so there's obvious concern about that.
Is that,
And,
I must be
you know,
wrong
this
though.
question about are we in a recession or not? We've had a couple of quarters of negative growth, and so we're.
I must be
certainly
wrong.
kind of a stagnating.
We can't have
environment.
negative barrels inventory,
Bankers
right?
are
That just
concerned
means
about and,
down.
Concerned about where that's going to go in the future.
Crude is going to
Show-
pump to the
show next
moon.
slide. This one
Bitcoin
is
responding.
from our quarterly community banks.
Okay, Bitcoin responding. Dollar
SI. And I think it really
is
shows
kind of where it
these
was.
concerns are justified. That most recent number there of 84 is our second quarter reading, and that's lower than it was in the depths of the pandemic.
Change from prior period, yes, but it said actual.
2020. And so that low point just kind of really.
So
highlights
this
the
is
concern.
predicted.
And
This is
very
last
well,
report.
Mike said the CDS
This is
held over
actual.
Fred, and,
So does
about
that
2
mean
weeks,
0.2
we'll
million
release the third
or
quarter
negative
results,
0.2 million?
and all
I do not
7
know.
Components that make up the index will also be available.
Let's see what they're
for-
saying.
for researchers to start to use those and find some good.
Okay, no,
information out of
you're
that.
right.
So,
You got it right.
One last plug is
You're
for
right.
any community bankers that are out there in the audience. Our third
'Cause
quarter
we've had
survey
negative
is
before.
open right now until the end of the quarter, which is,
Still though, they had a really low
and
target
so
and
if you haven't completed
under
it,
actual.
please do so. We'd like to have as many responses as possible.
U.S.
And
stocks
that's
rises,
all
bond
there.
yields
Thank you.
ease. Let's check out bond yields.
Great, thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
Can you advance
Meredith.
the slide?
You can
So
advance the
next finding
slide,
that we
Tom.
wanted to highlight from the survey was around competition. So something interesting showed up in competition this year that was different from years past, the
Wow.
level of importance that bankers viewed it as. So as you can see, bankers viewed market competition, so this is pertaining to market competition, as being less important this year than in the previous 3
A little
years.
weakness on the
We started
2-year
asking
yield.
the question in
Bonds,
2019.
that's not wrong.
This is trending with what we're seeing right now.
I wouldn't really
you
say
may
stocks are
not
up,
know,
though.
Bankers are getting a little bit more pessimistic about the near-term outlook for bank mergers and acquisitions. There was another survey that was conducted this month of bankers, and over 80% had said that they expected a deceleration in bank M&A deals over the next 12 months.
I'm using
So we
investing.com, by
think
the way,
this
guys.
can be attributed to overall economic conditions as
Meh.
well as the currently elevated regulatory scrutiny. And again, we'll let Tom add a little
Thank
bit
you,
more color on
Meredith.
that.
Yeah, I like this. This is fun
Next
banter.
slide. I showed this information last year that the number of FDIC insured
Bom, bom,
institutions has,
bom.
continued to decline. And so we've had consolidation going on for a long time. In fact,
Ooh,
when I started my career at the Dallas
That's
Fed
big.
about 40 years ago,
That's big.
you know,
U.S. pending
there were
home
about
sales
15,000
post
or
third
so
straight monthly
financial
decline.
institutions. So we're at the 1/3 of that level
Bubble
now.
pop.
And it could be that the reason that fewer bankers identify competition as kind of that most important risk is
U.S.
because we
oil
learned
prices on the
the risks
rise.
of
We
competition.
called it.
But also, I do think
That's
if you
crude.
go to the
Let's
next slide,
go.
it really is because we've got other things that are
What's
cropping
this
to
slide?
the surface here. So
Cyber
the red
attacks.
bars are the most recent results from a question that we ask in our quarterly CBSI, and so if you just
Inflation.
kind of put your eyeball on those, you can see that competition is pretty far down the list on what are you most concerned about or what keeps you up at night.
We're going to be
Top
launching
risks, again, are
a new site,
inflation,
guys.
the cost and availability of labor, government regulation, cyber attacks, federal debt deficit. All of those are concerns that are more exogenous in that, you know, it's more difficult for the bankers to be able to control or do things about a lot of those things versus competition.
Just
which they
launched.
hope that they can have a
Articles
level playing
should be
field,
published soon.
you know, fair regulation, fair taxes,
First article's
and
published.
that's where the concerns
I
really
guess the
come
images
from.
didn't work. We'll have to fix that.
So
I wrote a
I'll hand that
hella
over to Meredith, and we'll go to our next
article.
topic.
Great.
You guys
So
know you
next
want to
up,
read it, baby.
for us
Look
to
at this.
discuss how
Written by
community bankers are
yours
thinking about
truly.
technology.
That's right.
So we have several questions that are
Check it out.
focusing on technology this year, even building on what we had in last year's survey. And it's just largely because of the heightened
Analysis,
interest
yes,
and
that's
role that
correct.
it plays in almost every
Crown
process and practice for
analysis.
bankers now. We wanted to call out two findings, though. First is what is the most significant impediment to adopting new tech, and then servicing customers' crypto needs. So the cost or ability to implement new tech remains the top challenge for bankers. And when it comes to crypto, despite
Crypto.
rising popularity,
Thanks, Meredith. Let's take it from
more than
here.
80% of bankers have said it's really not important for community.
Fair enough, community bankers. Guys, key takeaway here. Just years ago, there was not so much as a peep from the banking community about cryptocurrency. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm dating myself as I become more and more of a crypto boomer. 3 years ago, 2019, maybe even into 2020. I'm going to try to Google it. I can't find it. I'm gonna look in the chat. Have you guys found a link? Yeah, I'm bored of these people. Goodbye. Can I like, I'm gonna chat. Hey fam. Hey fam, thanks for having us. Cryptocurrency OP. Me, host to panelists. Goodbye. Leave webinar. Well, that was fun. We infiltrated the community banking conference of 2022. Chair Powell had like a 10-minute, I don't know, like it was a nothing thing. He didn't really say anything. But we did have some interesting stuff going on. Really, even more so than the words being used or what's being said today is just the sheer quantity of Fed members speaking today and tomorrow. The ECB, Elderson should be speaking now, but I can't find a link. If you guys can find a link, we'll pull it up. I can't find it. And while that all went on, huge, this is moving markets. Crude oil inventories in the U.S. coming in under expectations after already dwindling supply to very, very little. That is likely to have upside pressure on crude, as we were talking before the numbers came in. Crude reaching for what looks like 81.50. If 81.50 doesn't stop it, which something tells me it won't with those really low numbers. Let's see where we may look next. 90, maybe 88, something like that. Looking for an upside move on crude. That's going to put pressure on CPI numbers for the next Fed meeting in, what is it? I don't know if they have one in September. I know there's one in November 1st. We'll get that scheduled. If you're tired of the Fed and Chair Powell. Well, no one's tired of Chair Powell, but are you long in BTC or what? Dude, you do you. I'm looking for an inverse head and shoulders pattern here. This could suggest a back test down at 19.2. Really looking at 19.9 again. 19.9 again would just be a lower high after what? Technically a higher low, but also a lower low. I'm no trade. I am absolutely no trade. I think we're heading for 19.9, but I don't know what's going to happen there. But I've been in no trade territory, guys. The volatility here has been unfavorable trading conditions. Today's candle, honestly, looking a lot like yesterday's candle inverted with a high wick that was sold off. Today, a low wick that was bought up. This might be a chop trader's dream. I'm not much of a chop trader. I'm more of like a trend swing. But we see very sideways consolidated price action. If we look at, let's shout out to our Bollinger Bands man, Mr. John Bollinger. Our daily 20 moving average at 19.9. Very attractive to price, in my opinion. Right there. That's very attractive to price, overlapping with 19.9. I actually want to do something I saw him do. We're going to pull a Bollinger Bands. We're going to put them on the daily and the weekly because they're doing something spicy. Can I do it? Yes. I love that TradingView added this. It's amazing. It's amazing. Here we go. My Stoil. We see the daily right here. These are the daily Bollinger Bands and the weekly Bollinger Bands, creating a bullseye. Constricting. When we have constricting bands, so the last time this happened, I would say, is around here. That typically and very predictably leads to volatility. We saw that was right before May's consolidation dump to our June low. We're getting something similar going on now with the weekly and daily. The weekly is not, I will say, not quite as tight as it was back in May. The daily, however, is very reminiscent. Very reminiscent. The 20 moving average of the middle of the Bollinger Band on the day, overlapping with 19.9. I'm looking for a move to 19.9 today. That's not that exciting. Unfortunately, not that exciting because that's just a lower high after what could be considered a higher low, I guess, on the macro. Let's look at the week, actually. Yeah, it's a higher low on the week. It's a higher low on the week. I'll take it. Dang. What a brutal chart. Sideways trading. Big takeaway. Big takeaway here. June's low still intact. This is huge. And this becomes more and more important as we see the S&P 500 has broken June's low. Let's go over to the S&P 500. Oh, not 10-day. S&P 500 has broken June's low right here. It happened yesterday. Bitcoin showing relative strength against stocks as it's held its June low. This is actually really important. The more these diverge, the more we see stocks move lower while Bitcoin holds its low, the more relative strength Bitcoin is showing. That is actually really spicy. I did not expect this. I got an alert that S&P broke June's low yesterday, and my first thought was, crap, Bitcoin is probably going to break its low as well. It did not. In fact, it was a brutal sell-off. No one really is going to argue against that. It was a brutal sell-off, but it didn't go anywhere. It was much more of a sentiment impacting sell-off than it was a price impacting or chart impacting. I have something I want to show you guys. All right, I've shared this in the Discord. If you're on the Discord, jump in there. Share this in the Discord. We've shared this and looked at this in different ways with different charts, but I think this is the most compelling to me. So this chart looks a lot like Bitcoin, and it should. However, this is not the unit price of Bitcoin. This is the total market cap of Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. Actually, very similar to the total crypto market cap. You guys know that I have railed on about this for a while now. Pull this up too. Let's get rid of a bunch of this so it isn't so visually confusing. You don't need any of this. This isn't important to you. This is what's important. Total crypto market cap. While logically it should look a lot like Bitcoin, despite Bitcoin dominance being under 50%, we made this argument over the last few months. This is our last piece of hopium. The previous all-time high so far has acted as support on total crypto market cap. The back test, after breaking resistance, the back test of that high as support, as long as it holds, this is our last piece of hopium. If that breaks, our hopium supply dwindles very quickly, but it has held. If the Bitcoin chart looked like this, I like to propose this, would you be more bullish? And I will say personally, 100% I would be more bullish. If we had seen Bitcoin break out, perfect back test of 20K, like that would be a beautiful chart. We would expect to bounce. That's like the most classic TA, like classic TA concept that exists. Resistance becomes support, support becomes resistance. So what I was saying before I got sidetracked is I wanted to show you this. This is not total, but this is Bitcoin market cap. The reason this deviates, who knows why? The reason that this deviates from price is because the supply of Bitcoin over time goes up. It does inflate. Bitcoin is in fact not deflationary at the moment. It is a future deflationary currency. At the moment it is inflationary. However, the inflation rate of Bitcoin, I believe, is at 1.4% a year. After the next halving, it'll be 0.7% a year. So it is lessening in its inflation every halving. Its inflation is lower than the dollar, but the supply is still increasing. So we can see deviations from the Bitcoin unit price being, $19,400 right now, and the total market cap. When we look at just the market cap, we see something very familiar. The previous market cap high, $334 billion. Let's zoom it in. June's wick low. Pretty spicy. Finding support at previous resistance at the 2017 high. As long as this is in play, there is hope. This does not mean that the bottom's in. It does not mean it will hold. It does not mean 100x right now, today, right? But it does suggest that as long as this holds, we have turned previous resistance into support, and there is reason to believe that not all the hope is lost. This is something I think that's important to see, to know, to be aware of. Does this mean it should influence or change your trading? Probably not, but this is pretty spicy. That is why I like to propose that question. If the chart looked better, in the sense of if 2017's high at 19.9 or whatever, if that had held, if we hadn't traded down to 17.5, would you be more bullish than you are right now? And my answer is yes, because breaking that previous high makes it more bearish. But it is very interesting that both total crypto market cap and Bitcoin's market cap by itself mirror that previous resistance holding as support. This is pretty damn spicy. I like it. All right. What are you guys looking at? This is the environment Bitcoin was created for. It was created in response to 2008's monetary mismanagement that led to pretty global markets tanking. Cypherpunks said humanity needs a tool. They need an alternative. So they created Bitcoin. This is what it was made for. Does that mean that it has to go up? No. Maybe the cypherpunks didn't, maybe they didn't do it right. Who knows? Time will tell. Time will tell. That's all we really can say. I believe, doesn't mean you should believe based on my belief. Shout out to Bybit, shout out to Market Cypher, our sponsors. Guys, also, pinned to the top of the chat, crownanalysis.com, new project I just am launching. This is the first time we've talked about it while live. I have published an article that I wrote. Check out the article. It took me a ton of time to write. I criticize it, give feedback, etc. Give feedback on the site. If you're interested in writing or contributing to any kind of economic writing, it doesn't have to be technical, it doesn't have to be crypto. Jump in the Discord, let me know. We're collecting the best of the best. Make sure you're liked and subscribed. Sorry that Chairman Powell was boring, but as always, we will continue watching the charts. We'll continue looking for the market edges. And after this live stream, we'll do an airdrop. I don't really suspect much volatility. We had most of these speakers go. Bitcoin is looking bullish on the short term. I'm looking for that back test here again of 19.9. We'll see what happens there. Set your alerts. Tune in next time, guys. I love you all. Thanks for being here. Crown out.